tonight. Yes, it's just today. I don't care when you're watching this. You are going to have a fucking awesome day. Oh, yes. Even if your gerbil is looking a little bit sick and is kind of like not paying attention to you and you're always upset because you need that daily love from your gerbil, I want you to know that gerbil adores you and you look very pretty today. Oh my god, today is great. We're watching IdrA versus HuK and we're about to see my absolute favorite thing in the whole universe. Starvation play. Literally, nothing delights me and excites me so as seeing a Zerg player starve his opponent. Ooh. Oh. Oh, that feels so good to watch in action. In fact, in Brood War, remember that game? In Brood War, I would say that almost pretty much all of my build orders were starvation-based plays. They always meandered in that direction. And I'm always excited to see it in StarCraft 2. I mean, there's a lot of styles of play that are more so the, alright, it's all built around these series of 3 attacks. You have to do this, and this, and this, and it's supposed to be weaken them, crumble. But no, we're going to see something that very uncommon to see in a lot of high-level SC2. Increasingly happening now that players are getting better and better, and there's not good ways to crack defenses. You don't. You just wait for him to come to you. What we've seen IdrA do in parts 1 and 2 is some brilliant econ in part 1, some great counterattacking in part 2. We can even see some remnants of the counterattack, a stray Zergling. It's kind of battered HuK down in the probe count. But in the army supply tab, we see the HuK ain't doing too shabby. We see 84 drones. We see 3 queens. So maybe about 100 supply for IdrA. Can even be devoted to those units. Now what IdrA's going to do is he's just going to chill. For 5th bases, I think maybe this is the most obvious one, as we can knock down these destructible debris and kind of have the easy launch pad in. But it's so common to see IdrA attack in this game and think, alright, well cool, when is he going to keep attacking? Well, he's not. He's building Broodlords, he's building them behind this huge nice army in mid. And watch the minimap. Look at what IdrA's doing. He's gooping up all the reasonable places to expand. In particular, this one. He should definitely keep an eye on this one as well, because there's always a chance your opponent could do that. And look at that. Sending an Overlord now to goop up this gold expansion. Burrowing to make sure everything is healed. Now he's beginning to make that wall of spine crawlers. Often people will view the wall of spine crawlers as the thing you do to get Broodlords. People don't think of it as get Broodlords and then do the spine crawlers. Well, why is IdrA doing this? What 4th base can HuK take? This one? Well, hell, that's really far. He would have to have units planted here to be able to defend an attack from the left and below, which would leave his main and 3rd totally vulnerable. This one at the right equally as undefendable. I mean, sure, he could maybe force field, but how's he going to stop a drop from IdrA? So the only reasonable place to expand is this one. And IdrA has total lockdown on that. 0 chance of HuK being able to really do too much. So even though IdRA is starting to advance forward, many people view the Broodlord, Roach, Infestor army as the indestructible death ball. Nothing wrong with just chilling with it. If it's an indestructible death ball, then why not assign its purpose to be locking down this base? IdrA is going to be playing, for the most part, real passively. I mean, yeah, he ends up losing those Broodlords. He's going to pick these off because, I mean, they are free stalkers. There's no need to commit to this at all. Just pulling back. Pulling back. Yeah, you can float the Broodlords forward. There's no reason to really commit. More units pouring out. But look at that tiny-ass army from HuK. Yes, obviously take the free units if you can. This is a moment where I think it's very easy to think, yeah, maybe I could swing some units in here. Maybe I could do my little counterattack play that I was doing before. Yeah, you could. You honestly really could. I mean, what can he really do with 10 Blink Stalkers and 3 Colossi? I mean, even his sentries are low on energy. HuK's not in a good position at all. But that's not the right play here. The right play is to chill and to get those other Broodlords up. Look at how remarkably passive IdrA is being. Passive, 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 waitin', chillin', dilly-dallying. And again, if you tuned in and I said, what year did HuK play this game? Or did IdrA play this game? You wouldn't know if it was early 2011, late 2011, early 2010, late 2010. IdRA's always been good at sitting back and just macroing up a giant force. It's the fact that there is this clear moment where IdrA said, all right, sweet, I'm done attacking. Look, expanding now to a 5th, expanding now to a 6th. No attacking. No real attacking. Doing the good old build Spore Crawler thing to get ready to move out. Oopsie daisies, we see some Dark Templar moving out. Now, IdrA will have to do some cleanup, but he's not going to be overly adamant about moving up. I've actually upped the speed of the replay to ×2, so we can view all this, calmly building up more and more Broodlords. Now, I will look at this mix and say, you know, with that many Broodlords, and how many Roaches is he at? 42 and 2 Infestors? Yeah, he could probably take down his opponent. Whoops, we are losing our 5th base. But for the most part, IdrA's just chilling. He's just waiting, he's just waiting. Remember when HuK moved out last time? What did IdrA have ready? He had 30 Zerglings ready to counterattack both times that his opponent moved out. Not this time. No, 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 siree. Gonna move out. Gonna tease an engagement. Gonna slowly reposition himself. Not rushing in to do anything crazy. And what angle is IdrA pushing along? Well, he's pushing along with the 4th obvious base for HuK behind him. I would probably be very willing, if I were IdrA in this circumstance, to pull back. It's a pretty close judgment call that encourages IdrA to continue to move forward. But look at that. Look at this decision. Look at that. Probably could have engaged there. I mean, the Colossus kind of weak. I mean, we have so many more units coming, but that's not the play. That's not the play at all. A couple Zerglings getting produced, pulling back, repairing. Is this 4th covered? Good. Let's just sit here and chill. Let's actually build some defenses up here at our Spine Crawlers. I should probably begin reconsidering taking this expansion. But mainly, I'm just going to be kind of locking down and starving the opponent. Oh no, is there a DT up there? Nope. Pulling everything back. Sending Zerglings over here to clear this out. Why are these Zerglings not positioned to counterattack? Because we're not actually trying to attack. HuK's starting to run dangerously low on minerals. Dangerously, dangerously low. So we're just going to sit here and wait. Slowly accumulate some Broodlords. Yeah, we did an attack here, but we didn't commit to that. In fact, we pulled almost all our Roaches back. IdrA successfully builds and then tries to get over 200 food, but remains at 199. No biggie. Huge Broodlord force. Huge ass Broodlord force. Just kind of hanging out. Expanding on the backside of it. Whoopsie daisies. I probably would have focused a little bit more on that. Another engagement that goes probably on the minus side for IdrA. I think maybe could have just withstood and just pulled back. Now, again, you could push all the way in. You could go for the huge push all the frick the way in, like this. But this is often the danger of doing these sorts of big pushes and just committing to them. Now, all of a sudden, IdrA has lost all of his Broodlords and is going back to these sorts of shenanigans. This is something I was less a fan of. The passivity and patience he was exerting earlier on, I liked a ton more. Because really, where the hell else is IdrA going to be sending these probes? Out? Well, you know what? IdrA just is going to be building up another force, and then this is where I started to get all excited again. I was like, yeah. Pulling back, just waiting, patiently waiting, chilling. No more crazy, goofy counterattacks. He's going to push HuK away from mid. Look at this. The Roaches could swing around, just waiting, calmly. Come back, little Broodlords. Waiting, sitting, chilling. Waiting, sitting, waiting. Getting more Broodlords, waiting, hanging out. No pressure at all to attack. We can rebuild the army on our own terms because we have this expansion locked down. And of course we have an eye on this one, and these ones on the bottom right side. Repetition, so good. He's waiting, he's chilling, he's rebuilding. HuK's moving out, he's trying to find an angle, and anytime my opponent does this, I giggle more than anything. GG, and just leaves the game. The final confrontation was not a huge, glorious battle. It was him electing to give up. Now, I want to state one of the biggest reasons that I like doing this sort of play. And years later, I got confirmation from my buddies about why it was shitty to play against me. In tournaments, if I had a huge lead game one, I would go straight for a starvation play. absolutely straight up for a starvation play. Because I don't want to kill my opponent and have him say, oh, I didn't deflect that attack properly. Good game, you win. I wanted my opponent to desperately try to find some way on 3 bases to beat me on 6 bases and have to elect to give up. That's the difference between asking a girl out and having her say, no, absolutely not, and I will never date you, versus never quite telling you yes, yet never telling you no, and one day you have to be like, oh, I'm just going to elect to back away. You don't want to. Ha 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 ha. This sucks. This is the worst feeling ever, where you're just like, oh god, you know, screw this. I don't have the money to do that. That's why I love starvation plays. Also, because there's this point where because if you're in a best of 3, and you have someone voluntarily surrender in game 1, rather than you defeat them, then in game 2 they're starting not feeling so good. Ah ha ha. Ah ha 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 ha. I love people being like, day 9, it's nothing like that. And I'm like, oh. Well, it certainly felt that way for me. But yeah, that is a wonderful, wonderful, reassuring thing when you know your opponent has just been psychologically set up in not so good a state in a best of 3. So now we're going to take some questions before I run off to ramen on this beautiful day. I'm on a real ramen bender lately. Alright, let's start F5 and F5 and F5ing. Come on, questions. Come on. Wait, Marky, is your question bot not in the chat? Oh, God, Marky. Is the question bot not on the chat? Marky? Marky! Alright, there we go. Liquid XV. Dear Danyan, every time I try to go macro heavy at the beginning of the game, I get crushed by a huge army. I think I could need more scouting, but I don't really know how to early scout a Zerg. So one of the big things is to know some real basic timings. Like, let me actually come back to here. I'm coming back to the 8-minute mark. For instance, if your opponent early expands, let me come over here. If your opponent early expands, about the 8-minute mark is as early as he can generally have his warp gates done. 8 minutes and 30 seconds is generally when I say an attack can start to move out. Because we see all the warp gates warp in. We see a round of units pop out. See, right before 8 minutes and 30 seconds, that's when this army you'll actually see. So, I like to do things like have a Roach Warren done before 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Have my Spawning Pool Metabolic Boost done before 8 minutes and 30 seconds. The only safeguard that IdrA really did was get these 6 roaches. I mean, he has 6 Zerglings, but the Zerglings are mainly used to be positioned around the map. We have some Zerglings here. Generally, you might have a Zergling here. Where are the rest of his Zerglings? Maybe running around to spot for some pylons. Are they? Yeah, look, they're chasing a probe around. If you know some basic timings like that, like when his Warp Gate will get done on 1 base versus 2 base, then I think you should be in good shape. But generally, if you go macro heavy and you get crushed by a huge army, generally that means that you don't have enough drones. Try droning even more. Get your larva injects even more on the ball. The reason that huge armies tend to come in and win is because earlier on you said, I might get killed by an army, better make units. And then again you go, well, he didn't come yet, but maybe he'll come right now, and you make some more units. And then, God, I gotta make units that 3rd time. And if you do this enough, the end result is that you're stuck around 39 drones, and you never get any more. So you can never get a huge army, but you can always get kind of a medium-sized army. And the Protoss who's patient will crush you. Alright, so here's a great question from Silver Halo 5. Dear Day 9, it looked like IdrA's style of counterattacking and keeping the enemy force small was unstoppable. Would drops and/or some defense at home help against this? Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that some kind of Warp Prism play is going to be very, very helpful against this, especially used in conjunction with moving out. Anytime you see your opponent sort of doing a lot of Ling roaching, he'll generally not have a lot of air, so you can just easily poke around the map with some Warp Prisms. I think Warp Prisms are increasingly becoming the big key to dealing with your opponent. Also, I think that HuK may have been slightly too aggressive with his units, And even some other building placement from HuK can help him. The fact is that counterattacking the way IdrA did is just good. So it should be a reasonable thing always. And the best defense is not, ooh, he's throwing paper at me, better have scissors ready to roll. No, it's just to have good general basic defense and try to minimize the amount of damage. It's kind of like when a Terran player does marine drops. The best response is just to have better positioning with your Zerglings and Queens. You don't really need anything too special for it. Just be aware that it could happen and try to position your army. Like on this screen, if you're moving out, try to send a spotting probe to the right and as your army moves up. Or even do something like send an observer to the right and have a second observer poking up to the top. That can help give you a sense of the positioning of his overall army, so that way you can be in decent shape. Army positioning is absolutely everything. Yes. So here we go. Dear Day 9, I play Zerg and try to do this style a lot, but I find when I have my opponent contained on 2 bases, I grow too passive, and he just waits to produce a single death ball that I cannot stop. How do I keep him low on tech like in this game? As a matter of fact, if you have him contained on 2 bases, you should be trying to do no prodding at all. None. 0 zip. Like, I'm talking like if he's at 15 minutes and stuck on 2 bases, you should think to yourself, woo, got him. And then what you should be doing is trying to tech straight up to that Broodlord mix as fast as you possibly can. And all you have to do in this case is just wait for him to come to you and have enough to defend that one attack. Don't be afraid to build 16 spine crawlers. Have all your hatches with a ridiculous amount of larvae. 2-base death balls should be very, very stoppable. 3-base death balls can be a little bit more difficult because in the midst of the attack they can do 1 round of warp-ins from 13 gateways and bring it back to maxed right as you lose your whole army. And that can be a little bit rough to deal with. But one of the big things to do is if you have them trapped on 2 bases, do not try to take a 4th too quickly. Get up to a huge tech, viciously good army really fast. Try to take the time to get things like Infestors and Broodlords and a lot of upgrades in there. Sticking on 3 bases versus 2 bases will generally help you a lot, and if you have the money to, build the 4th base. But don't try to be rushing for that 4th. That's why in this game you see IdrA doing this, where he builds this hatch. Come on, where is it, IdrA? Where is it? Okay, there's the attack. He builds this hatch, and then recognizes that his opponent is taking a 3rd base. At which point IdrA then takes his own 4th base. With this up, what IdrA probably would have done would be to get this layer up, insta-throw down this infestation pit to begin getting himself up a hive. Or, in fact, more commonly, what you'll see Chef do nowadays is stick to these 4 hatches, get an infestation pit, and instantly get the pathogen glands. And just go ling, roach, a lot of fungal growth. Great, clean, easy way to kill off those death balls. Great, clean, easy way. But again, don't rush for the 4th if you have them stuck on 2 bases. Just starve them. Wait for that death army to come out and thump them yet. All right, I'm going to take the last question. Where is this? Ha! From NullPointer89. Dear Day 9, when I do this starvation play, I will continue trading armies, but sometimes I have one bad engagement, I won't replenish fast enough, and it'll steamroll me when I have 3k banked. The big thing to note is that trading can often be quite difficult to do, and I actually don't think that you really need to do it in a lot of circumstances. It's one of those things that a lot of pros will exploit to their advantage, but if you're on 3 bases and he's on 2 bases, you have kind of an economic lead, but not a gigantic crushing one. If you're on like 6 bases versus 2 bases, trade all day. You'll be fine. But if it's like 3 base versus 2 base, what I will see is, let's actually back up to our to this position. Okay, so let's say you're on 3 bases as Zerg, and your opponent's stuck to 2. I'll even back it up here so that way the visual's clear. All right, 3 bases versus 2, right? Something like this. I'll see a lot of Zergs who will be willing to trade right here. This is where they will do the trade. What I want you to do is try to trade armies right here, as close back to your base as physically possible. When you start seeing him move in, when his army gets here, you sweep your army around here, cut off reinforcements, make sure that that army is not going to get any more bigger. And then what happens is you don't actually have a trade, you have a battle where you come out slightly ahead. Really be patient with those engagements. With Zerg, I guess it might be mildly different, where you might want to engage, say, here instead of right here, just so you have a little bit of time to reinforce with your second round. But, I mean, even then, screw that, man. Bring him way back into your throws. And also, when you see those sorts of armies coming, if you're still having trouble in the engagements, you might be getting something a little bit off compositionally. Again, getting something like Infestors in there, maybe you're a little bit behind on your upgrades. Look for other reasons why. If for some reason the bringing them back in ain't working. For now, I'm done with the daily. God, I love today's daily, and I love you. Woo! Getting awfully sentimental on this Sunday. I am going to go. I'm going to eat ramen because I'm a grown-ass man and I can make my own damn decisions. Damien is going to go on to his Khajiitan Skyrim at some point in the near future. Though I might not stream my next session, I will certainly be streaming more sessions in the future because that world is so good. God, I want to just be in it. I want to have the voice. Poos! What a perfect phrase to end the night on. I'll see you all on Fun Day Monday tomorrow. Peace out, beautiful people. I'll be there soon. Fun Day Monday, Fun Day.